From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hello and welcome to the Anxiety Project podcast number 61. I am Brad Robinson here with you today. This episode is on a very powerful technique that helps put your current limiting, anxious identity in the past. And it's very useful because now that you're going through this anxiety recovery journey, you're molding yourself into a different person. So that current anxious identity you have is now being pushed to the back and now being pushed away, and you are moving further away from that anxious identity. So this technique helps you disassociate yourself from that anxious identity and moves you further away towards that ideal you. And this technique is important because it shifts how you view yourself. I constructed my old anxious self. And it wasn't just me, it was also society, family, teachers. I was never taught how to deal with trauma, with certain stressful events that life always throws at you. And the Western culture, the educational system here, well, we're not taught how to deal with life's tragic elements. We're not taught this. So growing up, I practiced anxiety and this identity for a long time. And I didn't know that engaging in healthy habits such as meditation and yoga could in fact heal the body naturally. I grew up with this idea and belief that, Western medicine is the cure. If you have a cold, take a pill. If you feel anxious, take a pill. If you have any bodily issues, take a pill. I was never taught that diet, exercise, meditation, yoga, and releasing trauma exercises could in fact heal your body at a rate that we've never seen before. So I practiced anxiety since I was a kid. I practiced it. And I mean this unconsciously, entertaining negative thoughts, coping with stresses in life by sitting in front of the TV, playing video games, eating sugary foods, getting into trouble with negative friends, smoking, and being in toxic relationships. All of these things put a Band-Aid over stresses in my life. So this anxious identity became my outlook on life and on myself. I viewed myself as this sort of person, this anxious guy, this shy guy, this weak guy. So I didn't know any other way of being because I acted this out in my life. I was this person. I became Mr. Victim. When something didn't go my way, I would become angry and then throw a fit. I would always talk about the negatives of life with friends. And I was a huge, huge liar. I was always avoiding the truth because of the shame the truth would bring me. Then there was a point during my early 20s where I felt like an outcast to society. I felt different. I didn't want to go down the same path everyone else was going down. I started to become resentful. I started to become rebellious. And I think all children, most children, not all children, but most children feel that way at some point where they become an outcast, rebellious, listen to punk rock, all of these things, right? And most children. But I felt like I was different. I became rebellious and I avoided the roads everyone else was going down. And I didn't want to live that comforting lifestyle, in an office, go home, the same routine. And then I would even talk about how I despised that lifestyle with friends. And this perspective grew partially due to the people I was looking up to. So these people that I was looking up to kind of lived in the moment, lived this rebellious lifestyle, lived this cool lifestyle that I pictured, right? And this lifestyle included, marching to the beat of your own drummer, right? And these people lived in the moment, they smoked, and these people fell victim to impulsive pleasures like weed and alcohol. So I started to go shift down that route. I thought these people were the coolest. I would watch them on TV. I would watch them in movies, these womanizers, these people who were deep and dark. And I felt like I am deep, I am dark. So I kind of went down that road. And this dragged on, though, into my mid-20s. And with this way of thinking, I only continued to hurt myself unconsciously. And how I hurt myself unconsciously was I was avoiding responsibilities and underlying emotional issues. And then eventually they got bigger and bigger. When I reached the age of 25 and I realized I am getting nowhere, I'm getting older, and I'm not where I am financially and career-wise, I would sweep all of those issues under the rug, under the carpet, and go back to impulsive pleasures and destructive habits. And this only worsened my anxiety. Then, by the age of 26, I ended up with a full-blown panic disorder. Everything accumulated from under that rug. Everything grew and grew until it was unbearable to me. That chaos became too much. Too much chaos equals anxiety, equals health anxiety, equals agoraphobia, equals depression. Too much chaos only results in those things. So all the responsibilities I was avoiding and all the shame and guilt over my past just burst. It just burst its bubble. Everything just was overflowing. The cup that is me was now overflowing. Then my health anxiety worsened to the point where I couldn't even leave my home because I was afraid of the outside world. I was I was afraid of leaving my safe zone, my house, and having a heart attack or having a panic attack or fainting where nobody is around to help me, no family, no emergency personnel. And I was also afraid of embarrassing myself in front of society, in front of other people by having these panic attacks. So this was agoraphobia. It resulted in agoraphobia where I just stayed in my safe zone, stayed in my house, and avoided situations where I could potentially lose control and have anxiety and have a panic attack. So I suffered with health anxiety since I was a kid, but now, since the cup has overflown, it became worse than ever. And I became sensitized 24/7. Now I became Mr. Victim times 2. Everything has just gotten so chaotic. So let's go back to this technique. Why is this technique valuable for anxiety recovery? Now, let's first talk about what the technique is, because I didn't even talk about that yet. The technique is called the I used to technique. The I used to technique. When going through anxiety recovery, you shift your identity from anxious, shy, and weak person to confident, strong, and social butterfly. So you're moving from one identity to another, similar to an actor studying for a movie part. Right? What does an actor do to study? Well, they hang around people who they're studying. So if an actor is learning to be a police officer, in the movie, they hang around a police officer and then they go on ride-alongs and they become that person. Or they study the person's character, right? They study how they act. If they're doing like a biography piece, they study how they act, their mannerisms, their habits. So the best way to disassociate yourself from your anxious identity is to put that identity with all of its bad habits in the past tense. So that's what this technique is. You're putting your identity, your current limiting identity, with all of the bad habits and the beliefs in the past tense. I used to be anxious. I used to call up loved ones for reassurance. I used to be shy. So the more you put that part of you in the past, the more your unconscious gets it. At first, the unconscious will be like, yeah, right, you're not this confident, strong guy. You're not moving away from anxiety. You have anxiety. So you're going to feel this resistance come up when you start to use this technique. Your unconscious is not going to believe you. When you keep telling other people and yourself, I used to be anxious. I used to hang around negative friends. I used to phone up a loved one when I had panic. I used to have panic attacks. And then your unconscious is going to be like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. At first. But the more you practice this technique, the more your unconscious gets it. The more it gets it, the more your unconscious gets used to you talking this way and then starts to actually believe it, because it's a fake it till you make it idea, and it works. It's a fake it till you make it idea, but it works. The more you act out and talk about how you used to be this kind of person, the more you move away from that person, the more you disassociate yourself from that person and those habits. Anxiety recovery involves kicking out the legs of the table that are supporting the limiting identity you hold for yourself. Now, during my anxiety recovery, I put all my actions and habits in the past tense and moved towards a more confident and stronger person by implementing other techniques on top of this technique, implementing modeling techniques where I would model after someone I want to become. So then you have to act out the part. And acting out the part of strong, confident, anxiety-free person is about changing and shifting how you speak. So this is why this technique is so powerful. This is shifting how you speak, how you project yourself, right? And then you will start to see yourself differently, and your perspective over you and the world shifts. It's absolutely amazing. This anxiety journey will make you more disciplined, and it will build you into a new, positive, and self-assured person. So give it time, but keep implementing these techniques. Think of it as a movie role. You're studying a character, and the more you study, the more you practice the behaviors of the new character, the more you speak like the new character, you will become like them and run their habits and their mannerisms at an unconscious level. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's podcast episode. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Remember, do not let anxiety define who you are, and I will see you on the next podcast episode. Bye. For more podcast episodes, for more video content, and one-on-one coaching with me via Skype, visit www.unpluganxiety.com for everything you need to know about ending anxiety naturally. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.